Hi, this is Bob at Reality Training, and this is a short film which gives you some presentation skills tips. And the tips I'm going to be giving you are taken from my assessment of 4 current political leaders. I'm not going to give my political leaning in terms of my voting intention to you. That's not what this is about. This is about presentation skills. What are the presentation skills of Boris Johnson, Jeremy Corbyn, Jo Swinson and Nicola Sturgeon? Well, let me give you my brief assessment on what I've seen in recent weeks. Boris Johnson, he does a lot of this kind of blustering and sort of slightly buffoony thing, playing with his hair and that kind of thing. Now that's an interesting technique, because what he's trying to do through being a bit dishevelled is to appear to be more likeable. Now that's a really interesting technique. The other thing he does is that sometimes he gets asked a question and he'll say things like, well, I am trying to, and he will put in these kind of stammers in his voice. These are on purpose. He doesn't need to do that, because when he has prepared answers, he doesn't do it. He does it in order to give himself time to think of his answer, but while he's doing that, you can't interrupt him. So it's a really interesting technique in terms of how to stop someone, have time to think, and then give your answer. He also uses little lines and sound bites that he likes, like oven-ready deal, Bermuda Triangle thinking. You know, he comes up with these things a lot, which he'll throw in, which are his kind of standard things that he must get into these different discussions and presentations that he does. So that's very much Boris, very much kind of trying to be likeable, very intelligent person, I think. At the same time, he's using a number of different things to make him more likeable as a potential leader. Now that brings us on to Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn has a slightly upward inflection in the way that he speaks. Then sometimes he'll do a kind of pointer thing. He'll use little points sometimes. The thing about it is, that's quite interesting about Jeremy, is that he has a slightly whiny tone, which he needs to be slightly careful of. He's trying to come across as well-meaning. Okay, that's what he's trying to do. And he's trying also not to have any side, not to have any sort of agenda behind what it is he's trying to say. He's trying to be plain speaking. And that's quite a difficult balance to get when you're trying to become a political leader, is to keep that totally kind of positive, well-meaning agenda rather than hinting at what might be behind it. And I think that's an interesting distinction between those two people. Now, Jo Swinson. Jo Swinson, I think, feels slightly put out that she is not seen as one of, let's say, 3 potential prime ministers. You know, she wasn't in the kind of debates between Jeremy and Boris. And so when I see her speak now, she has a slightly resigned tone, slightly hard done by tone to her voice, because she hasn't been included. She's concerned. She is trying to get across this very different agenda to the other parties, very specific, but at the same time there's something in her tone which is slightly hard done by, I didn't expect to be in this position now tone. And then lastly, Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon, if we think about it, has been the leader, the First Minister of Scotland for some years now. She, of all of them, is the most professional. No doubt about it. She's succinct in her answers. She gets across her message. She knows exactly what to say. She has a very, very positive and focused agenda on what it is she's trying to do. And so whenever you see her interviewed, she gets her message across within the time scale that she has, without some of those kind of artificial things that the other people have. So they could actually learn a bit from her. So, interestingly, what are the positives here? The positives are you can adjust the way you speak, as Boris does, in order to get your message across. You can try and look as though you have no side so that you are presenting a positive, as Jeremy does. You can, if you're not careful, come across as being slightly hard done by, as poor old Joe Swinson does. And lastly, you can just be the pro that sticks to the message and gets it over within that timescale, as Nicola Sturgeon does. So there we go, 4 different perspectives. I wish you well on Thursday when you go and cast your votes in this very interesting election. But in terms of presentation skills, that's what we're dealing with. Bob Morell, reality training, results through inspiration.